convert fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So the fraction bar represents division. And then to convert a fraction to a decimal, we're going to go ahead and divide. And if a decimal repeats, we're going to use a bar over the number to represent them. So if the number went on like this, right, it just continued on with threes, we could actually just rewrite it as 3 like that with a bar over it to represent that the 3 will just continue to repeat. So example 1, if a state is 1/12 and 5, represent this fraction as a decimal. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to put the 12 on the outside. Now 12 can't go into 1, but it can go into, let's just add some zeros here. Well, 12 can't go into 1, so let's just go ahead and put a 0 there. We'll bring the decimal straight up. Now 12 can't go into 10, so that's 0 times, right? 12 can go into 10, 0 times. And we're only doing this because of the decimal here, right? And so we're just going to indicate the zeros to understand this. So now 12 can go into 100 8 times. So we're going to go ahead, because 12 times 8 is 96, we go ahead and subtract. Well, 100 minus 96, well, that's 4. Then now we go ahead and bring down that 0. 12 can go to 43 times. So that's 36. We subtract, we get 4. Let's go ahead and bring down another 0. Right, we can just add zeros, it doesn't change anything. So now 12 can go to 43 times. So are we noticing a trend here? We're just going to keep subtracting, right, this 40 from 36, and we're going to get 4. And then we can go ahead and bring down another 0. But the point is 3 is just going to repeat on forever. So another way to represent this as a decimal then would be 0.083 with the line over the 3. And it's just the 3 because only the 3 repeats. So this fraction bar is right there. Now let's go ahead and look at the next example. So example 2, on a monthly budget, 3 out of the 8 of it spent on housing. Represent this as a decimal. So 3 divided by 8. Let's go ahead and add a decimal and a 0. Well, 8 can go into not 3, so that's 0. Bring the decimal straight up. Well, 8 can go into 30 3 times. So that's 24. We subtract, we get 6. Then we need to go ahead and add another 0. So 0 comes down, and now we have 60. Well, 8 can go into 60 7 times, because 8 times 7 is 56. And so now we go ahead and subtract, right? And we have a 5, this is 10, and that's a 4. We add another 0, we bring that down, and it's 40. Well, 8 can go into 45 times. So we subtract 40, we get 0. So what is this fraction represented in a decimal? Well, it's 0.375. Now let's go ahead and look at the next example. Example 3. So the trick to convert decimals to fractions, we're going to put the decimal over 1, and then we're going to multiply 10 on both the top and the bottom numbers for each number there is after the decimal. And then we're going to reduce if possible. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have example 3. Express 0.3 as a fraction. Well, the first thing we're going to do is put it over 1. So we have a fraction, but we have a decimal, so we need to get rid of that. And the way we do that is we multiply the top and the bottom by 10. Well, when you multiply a decimal by 10, we're really just moving the decimal over 1, right? So we would end up with 3, and 1 times 10, well, that's 10. If you aren't sure about that, let's go like this. We'll put it like this. Well, that's 0, 3, then we add a 0 here, and then those are just zeros. We add them up, well, that's just 30. We only have 1 decimal, so we move the decimal over, and that's a 3. So we can see how we got to the 3 here. To confirm that we just move the decimal over 1 when we multiply it by 10. So what's our fraction? 3 over 10, right? So 0.3 and 3 over 10 are the same thing. They represent the same number. Now let's go ahead and look at example 4. So example 4, express 0.83 as a fraction. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to put it over 1. And notice we have 2 numbers after the decimal. So we're not only just going to multiply it by 10, right? We're going to do it twice, right? And so we can essentially just go like this. Now, really, 10 times 10, that's really just multiplying it by 100, right? So you could just represent it by 100, but the point is we're doing this 2 times because there's 2 numbers after the decimal. So 0.83, right? Well, if we move it over just 1 because we multiply by 10, if we multiply it by 100, then we would move it over 2 times, right? So we would get to 83, right? And then we have 1 times 10, well, that's 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So this would be our solution then. That's our fraction. And if you aren't sure, always feel free to, you can go ahead and do, right, multiplication with this decimal times 10, then take that number, multiply it by another 10. So you could do it that way, or you can remember, anytime you multiply a decimal by 10, we just move this decimal over 1, but then there's 2, so we move it over again. So that would make it to 83. And so that's how we can see it there.